Hey guys, we're back with the next episode of Sryth, our fantasy text-based RPG game. Last time we were doing Proof Downs 4. We were almost finished with it, but we were at the 30-minute mark, so I didn't want to go too far past that. So that's what we're going to start with today. We're going to complete those Proving Grounds. We learned Trollbont, which is one of the second to last skills I had left to learn. Thanks so much for hanging out and joining me. Let's go. So yeah, I'm going to hit for my experience bonus, which isn't a lot, but I'll take 503 any day over 0. And then we're gonna do Proving Grounds and finish off the Troll Hunter. Last hunt. Begin. The three of you advance to the dark interior of the cave, proceeding cautiously along a broad and flat passage, your path illuminated by the pool of light spilling forth from Tanvar's battered lantern. Jirig, his trollbont resting across his chest, suddenly holds up his hand, and you came to an immediate halt. Your body tenses as your eye nervously scan the shadows ahead. 3 trolls emerge from the darkness, lopping along the cave passage and snarling viciously as they close in. You and Tanvar step forward, drawn up next to Jirig in the broad passage as you prepare for combat. The troll attack is swift and fierce, but the 3 of you are stalwartly hold your ground. Quick combat. 2 more trolls rush out of the darkness and lunge at you. You struggle to counter the savage attack. Not really. We don't really struggle. we're BAs. Tanvar winces as he extracts the splintered fragments of the troll's claw from a nasty gash in his forearm. Jirig asks him if he's alright to continue. He nods grimly in response. Right then, he says. Let's go on with this, for real, if nothing else. The passage continues for nearly 20 yards before passing through a tall, natural arch. Beyond the arch, the passage widens into a broad chamber with a high ceiling. Tanvar steps forward, allowing his lantern's glow to invade the chamber and chase away the deep gloom that lingers there. The scene that is revealed sends your heart racing. At least 20 trolls, most of them no more than half the size of a man, crowded no more than half the size of a man, crowding the far corner of the chamber, staring fearfully in the direction of the light. 2 large trolls stand before them, keeping the young kin pressed back into the corner while regarding the 3 of you with icy, contemptuous glares. They do not appear eager to attack, but they sense they are prepared to defend the young trolls at all costs. They're babies. Jirig's fierce, unblinking gaze does not move from the trolls as sneer forms out of his frown, and he slowly raises his trollbont. For real, he growls. With both hands gripping its haft, Jirig raises his trollbont over his head and suddenly hurls a weighty weapon across the chamber into the opposite corner where the trolls are huddled. The troll hunter returns without a word, strides past you and Tanvar, and heads back along the passage and out the cave. Tanvar looks at you and nods but says nothing. The 2 of you turn and follow Jirig, keeping an eye on the passage behind you. You fall in a rapid and surprising retreat. You can't kill them because they're babies? The episode in the cave on the ridge is never spoken of again. Upon returning to the cave, Jirig sees to it that the preparations for the journey to Sryth is immediately set into motion. Within an hour of his order, the company is packed and ready to move out. Jirig's mood seems to lighten somewhat as the camp is picked up, and he even shares a laugh with some of the men and thanks both you and Tanvar for the up in the morning's mission, though there is no mention of the actual event. At last, with everything in order, Jirig mounts his horse and signals for the company to begin a long trek to Sryth. Jirig rides past you, moving to the front of the company, and you notice for the first time since you've known him that he wears no weapon. There's no trollbont strapped across his back and no sword hanging from his waist. As you leave the camp, you pass by the grave of Riel at the edge of the forest, and you turn to pay your last respect to the man who came to know as a staunch ally. Staunch. There, upon the freshly packed earth resting across Riel's trollbont, lies the sword conspicuously missing from Jirig's side. The journey to Sryth is long but relatively uneventful. By the time the walls of Adderstone loom into view out of the thick morning fog, nearly a week after you broke camp at the side of Riel's grave, the company eager for comfortable quarters, a hot meal, and a chance to spend their hard-earned gold. Jirig tells the men to continue to the city ahead of him there, only to have to accommodate his request. They each bid farewell to you in turn, and several of them said they hope your paths will cross again one day. Tanvar and Brecken each pulled their steeds in close and each on his shoulder cross before rejoining the columns of huntsmen now moving up to the city gates. You don't need me to sing your praises, smiles Jirig, meeting you in another shoulder cross. I've never met anyone like you, Allison. And whether you know it or not, you've given me a new look at it all. Who knows, after some rest and a few good drops, maybe I'll see it all differently again. Thank you, friend. Jirig presents you with a sizable quantity of gold. You attempt to politely refuse his generous gift, but he will hear nothing on the matter, and the matter is quickly settled. Well, he laughs, turning to look at the walls of Sryth behind him. I think I said to you by the fire one night, a while back, that I might someday see my way to giving it all up. Maybe today is someday. Jerry turns to you, then glances back at the city, and then looks at you once more. Well, in any case, he says, there are some things that need to be reconciled before I again listen to the call of the wilds, but for now, I hear only the alehouse calling. Now, with all that gold you're toting, Ellison, the least you could do is buy me an ale. A cool breeze out of the west stirs the thick fog that swirls and eddies across the road leading up to the city gates. You courteously motion for Jerry to lead the way, and he smiles broadly, urging his horse into a trot. The sun is finally beginning to pierce the early morning haze when you ride into Sryth side by side with Troll Hunter. Congratulations, Allison. I've triumphantly completed all the scenarios in the fourth Proving Ground contest, the Troll Hunter. It was no small feat, and you now be rewarded with truly heroic efforts. Nice. 100%. So it wasn't too long. Another 6 minutes or so. 4 minutes really, because I probably talked for 2 minutes before we started. Oh my gosh, get rid of this weapon. Give my horn back and my shield. Now we're talking. Alright. There's no more adventures here. Let's see. Proving Grounds. It's not even on the list anymore. There's no more adventures. There's obviously more Proving Grounds. One day I'll do 1, 2, and 3. But for now, I'm good. And there's no more adventures here. So, stands to reason the next thing we'll do is go on to Durnsig. I'm just going to go through I'm going to go on to Durnsig because that's pretty much the next city in the Hot Hills, and see about I'm just going to go along the whole thing pretty much, not locations near, but all the south west Tisa stuff, and do all the adventures because that's how I roll. We don't have to travel far to do adventures. Speaking of adventures, we gotta go to my castle and do some upgrades. Time to upgrade. I'm improving the upgrades I've made. Let's do the servants. Because who doesn't need more better servants? And then finish the library up. And that's all I got for today. Yeah, I'm gonna complete finishing all these up to the level 3, and then we'll think about what else we want to add. I'm gonna go to storage room. Hey, it's Kendall's. Hi, Kendall's. I want to put stuff here. I'll put my troll bont, because that belonged to my friend. We don't want to be carrying stuff. Shh. Alright, Mrs. Coachman, we're going to go back to Durnsig. Thank you so much. Yeah, I got a small dwelling here too. I've dropped items. Goblin Doom. That's cool. Let's see, are there adventures for this location? Quite a bit. Alright, let's do the first one and see how long that takes. If it's not too long, we'll try another one. The Haunting in Durnsig. It's always been rumored that the forest east of Durnsig is haunted, long ago cursed by an evil warlock, now many centuries deceased, and let's face it, the sudden appearance of an impossibly large and tangled pumpkin patch on the edge of the wood isn't helping its reputation any. Oh no, that sounds disgusting. A grizzled traveller whose face bears the telltale sign of few too many North Broadland winters tips his hat as he rides past you, heading the opposite direction on the winding forest road leading up to Durnsig. Hope you don't have business there today, he remarks from a frown, tugging back on his reins and slow and already sluggish pace of his aging ma. All up in a storm they are today. I hadn't business in Hucklow till 3 days from now, but I'll soon be marching there barefoot and caught in the nonsense that passes from the plight around here. Pumpkins. My word, yes, pumpkins. Nonsense and folly. Good day to you, miss. Something tells you the old man's grumblings aren't without merit, but nothing can quite have prepared you for the scene that awaits you in Durnsig. You only just set from the village empty main thoroughfare when the door to the Singing Fool, its only tavern flies open, spilling a red-faced, rather rotund man onto the road before you. He bows deeply and grasps your hand as what can only be described as a look of extreme relief passes over his face. At last! He cries, furiously wringing your hand in his as he looks you over. The illustrious Rockmokara. Well met indeed. When I got word that you had received our summons, I prayed that you would make haste to us. It appears that the very thing has happened. Mayor Rottall of Durnsig is at your service, and indeed your mercy. You arrived not a moment too soon. The mayor stares at you for a moment and shrugs. I had expected you to look a bit different, he says. Well, that's certainly no matter of any importance. Here you are indeed. And once since seeing that you've been mistaken for the famous adventurer Rockmokara, the famous adventurer, self-described hero, Rockmokara, has earned quite a reputation over the years as a highly skilled, somewhat haunty sword for hire. Tales of the adventurer's heroic can be heard in taverns across the vast breadth of the North Broadlands. Okay. You attempt to explain yourself to the mayor, but immediately and quite rudely cuts you off, waving his plump finger in the air. We'll have time for all that later, he says. We're in the midst of a dilemma we've not seen the like of since the tribe patrols wandered through town. Follow me, please. I'll lead you straight to it. Hurry now. Unable to get a word in edgewise, with your interest now piqued, you follow along behind the flustered mayor as he leads you out of the village, heading east into the midst of a wide expanse of cleared farmland. As the far eastern edge of one of the broader fields, you spot a large number of people gathered about a vast area of dense green vegetation that straddles the wood line. The mayor immediately starts toward the gathering, beckoning impatiently for you to follow. You're within a dozen yards of the crowd, following closely behind the mayor, when a man standing at the back of the throng gathered around appears to be an overgrown pumpkin patch, suddenly turns and begins shouting excitedly. It's Rockmokara. Rockmokara. I'm going with that. It's Rockmokara, he cries, eliciting a raucous cheer from those standing at the edge of the vast towering tangle of green vines. Don't you fear, says the mayor, his annoyance at the outburst plainly evident. I'll take care of this rabble. You just leave them to me. You again attempt to explain yourself to the Mayor Rottall, but he shakes his head and quickly moves to intercept the wave of intrigued citizens now surging in a direction. He stops them before they can reach you and tells them that they are to give a wide berth and allow you to get to work at once without distraction. The brave and heroic Rockmokara, I already forgot. Rockmokara. The brave and heroic Rockmokara deserves our gratitude, our respect, and her space, he shouts above. Why would my name be Rockmokara? Didn't the crowd? I urge you, all of you, to disperse and return to whatever duty calls you. This unsettling matter is now in capable hands and would no doubt be sorted out ere sunset. Off now, go on, then off. The mayor's words seem to have little effect on the crowd. The rabidly curious onlookers simply shuffle to the side, allowing you and the mayor to pass through their ranks and move up to the very edge of the overgrown pumpkin patch. The tallest portions of the wall of the vines that makes up the patch stretch several feet above the top of your head. For the third time and final time, you begin to explain to the mayor that he is somehow mistaking you for Rockmokara, but he frowns and rolls his eyes before you manage to say less than half of what you intended. There's no time to attempt to be humorous, my dear lady, he says, his tone absurdly serious. I mean, have a gander at the patch of pumpkins by the old fort. This thing appeared overnight. It's the curse of the damnable woods. On that I'll stake my hat. The mayor takes you aside comfortably out of the hearing range of the gathered town folks and repeats that this impossibly large and tangled patch of pumpkins has sprung up out of nowhere and was not present when the farmer whose fields this is left it on the previous afternoon. And the noises coming out of it, he said with an exaggerated shudder, chills the blood, and no mistake, sounds like growls at times. I'd not be surprised if some wicked beast isn't at home in there. Frightful, perfectly frightful. You learn that the village militia, which is mostly composed of some of the younger farmers and tradesmen from in and around Durnsig, has steadfastly refused to enter the patch. The mayor shrugs and says that he can hardly blame them, as something like this is quite outside the scope of their experiences. When I was reminded about you, he says, his face brightening somewhat. I was reminded about you. You got the village of Terrace Hall out of a nasty spot last spring, as what intimated to me by its by its elder councilman, a very old and good friend of mine. He says you just be just a gal for this sort of thing, and I must say, having a long look at you myself, his recommendation leaves me desirous of nothing. Mayor Rottall pauses for a moment, perhaps to catch his breath, and is about to continue when a savage roar sails out of the overgrown pumpkin patch. Several of the onlookers shriek in terror, and the mayor's face turns ashen. Well then, he says, swallowing hard and nervously, mopping his brow with a trembling hand, I think I've shown you all that I can. I leave the matter in your capable hands, Rock Makara. I'll be in the Singing Fool. In the Singing Fool, should I be able to assist you in any way? Very well, good luck. Keep me your prize. The mayor turns and strides off away from the pumpkin patch, stopping to briefly chastise the gathering townfolk for impeding your work and their continued presence. They seem to pay him little mind, however, and only a small handful of them actually follow him back to town. You sigh, exhale sharply, glance quickly at the sizable crowd that remains, and turns your attention to the overgrown oddity at the center of the crisis, now gripping Durnsig. You stand just outside the perimeter of the overgrown pumpkin patch. A few yards to the east, there is a breach in the tangled wall of green vines that plunges into the midst of a strange leafy jungle. A dozen yards to your left stands a sizable group of Durnsing's concerned citizens. The onlookers intently watch your every move while whispering, talking amongst themselves. Now and again, one or more of them shouts a few words of encouragement to you, addressing you as Rock Makara when they choose to include your name in the insipid verbal barrage. Now, let's go. Do what y'all want to do. The gathered townfolk erupt in raucous cheers. You step into the overgrown pumpkin patch. Words of encouragement and few clever curses directed to the patch itself reach your ears as you promptly swallowed by the dense green tangle of vines and leaves. You stand just inside the northern edge of the tangled overgrown pumpkin patch. A towering wall of thick green vines and broad-backed leaves surround you on all sides, making it impossible to see beyond the confines of this living maze in any direction. On the clear blue sky overhead and the tawny earth beneath your feet provide any contrast to dense emerald growth that seems to close in all around you. I don't remember. Hey, it's a map. Towering wall of thick green vines and broad-backed leaves surround you on all sides as you tenaciously make your way through the dense, tangled maze of overgrown vegetation. There's a small pile of bones on the ground here, disturbing enough. They're mostly human. Oof. What humans? Okay. Several long leafy tendrils shoot out from the wall of green to your right and latch onto your legs. You desperately struggle to free yourself from the crushing grip of the animated murderous vegetation. Quick combat. Death. Yay! A ragged remainder of the attacking vines rapidly retreat into the dense vegetation that surrounds you. For several tense moments you maintain a defensive stance, half expecting to face another attack. However, when it becomes apparent that no such attack is imminent, you quickly check over your equipment and once again set off on your way through the tangled patch. This way, please. What's here? Okay, more entangled vines. Gotcha. However, when it becomes apparent, yeah, that's the same. So I'm not going to read when it's the same. Small pile of bones on the ground here. That are human. Gross. So every question mark here, I'm going to be fighting somebody. It seems. And we're going to run across human bones all the time. I wonder if anybody in here is alive. It's not haunted, it's just murderous vegetation. There's lots of living plant things, like those tree people. Sharp rustling sound from ahead freezes you in your tracks, and you quickly assume a defensive stance, prepared to face whatever is about to emerge into the patch. Or those mud people. What are they? Merkmen. Oof. An instant later, a two-legged being with an oversized pumpkin for a head and full stout green vines serving his arms and legs wobbles into view and stalks immediately towards you. The whole creature now stalking in your direction utterly defies description. As is approached, its bulbous head spins to face you, revealing a nightmarish countenance carved into the thick orange flesh. The red glow of the flickering flame emanates from hollow features that adorn the face of this monstrosity. As the pumpkin-headed being draws to within melee range, you suddenly note that it wields a crude wooden sword, and its weapons are made of plants too. The pumpkin warrior emits an unearthly shriek as it collapses to the ground at your feet. You hurriedly stomp on the remains of your enemy, smashing its pumpkin head. Ooh. Ugh. Certain that the abomination never rises again. After a brief rest, you once again set off on your way to the tangled patch. Jeez. Let's keep going. Is it more? Oh no, it's just vines. Fine. I'd rather vines than pumpkin people. We've cut vines and it's made a passageway. Makes sense. I've slain them. Let's go. Keep going. Let's keep going. Oh, this seems long and arduous. How do we get over here? Oh no. Horde creature. More pumpkin head beings. This is also the same as before, so I'm not going to read it again. Okay, we're killing 2 at a time now. I like to see it. More vines. We're going to get another passage open. Indeed. More vines. 2-way passage? Wow. Okay. I like to see it. Guess I may have to retreat quickly, I guess. Leaves from the vine falling so slow. Or pumpkin people. Like drifting through the snow. Little soldier boy, come marching home. Brave soldier boy comes marching home. Alright, more vines. That's not gonna make a passage, because that's too far. 2 spaces up. This one's who knows how many spaces up. Who is at the end controlling all this? Let's talk about that. Who do you think it is? Yes. Like animated vines. It could be that rope guy from... Hey, it's open a passage. Nice. More pumpkin warriors. My health is on the way down, friends. Jeez. Is it gonna open a passage? Ah, it does. Wow. So it can open a 2-step passage. More vines. Is it gonna open like 4? It is. Interesting. Oh, whoa, 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 whoa. Sorry, my other computer keeps trying to turn off. I swear I told it never turn off when it's plugged in, but it's always trying to turn off. Alright. More pumpkin warriors. I'm waiting for rejuvenation to help me out. Another pumpkin warrior. No. More vines. There it is, rejuvenation. What the percentage is. We're almost to the end, I think. Maybe not. I know I keep leaning forward. This way? Yeah, this way. Because I was blind for so long that my body thinks I have to lean forward to see better. I don't. I can see perfectly fine right here. More vines. Another pumpkin head being. Pumpkin warriors. Oh wow, open a whole passageway. I guess I was silly to say it couldn't open more than one way. I don't know that they always had these maps in this game, which I appreciate. I appreciate the maps. Because you can look at this and be like, oh, north, south, west. I'm like, where am I going? I don't know. Alright, several long, leafy tendrils shoot out from the wall of green and latch onto your legs. You desperately struggle to free yourself from the crushing grip of the animated, murderous vegetation. It's massive, it says. And now it's dead. The ragged remainder of the attacking vines rapidly retreat into the dense vegetation that surrounds you. It's the same as we read already. Oh, we're coming back full circle. Okay, the path you've been following through the tangled patch. Other stuff's trying to break. Whatever. I don't care. I don't care. The path you've been following through the tangled pumpkin patch suddenly arrives. at a dead end. You're about to turn and reverse course when a loud rustling in the vines in the east sends your heart racing. A mighty roar shakes the earth as a massive pumpkin, nearly 3 times your size, rolls out of the dense vegetation and comes to rest only a few yards from you. Much to your horror, the impossibly large pumpkin starts to quiver and slowly turns to face you. It's carved, nightmarish facial features emitting a bright red glow from the raging fire that burns within its thick orange shell. Your fear mounts as the hideous vegetable cackles gleefully, its crooked grin moving in conjunction with the cruel sound that it produces. Not my first choice of host, but this'll do, snarls the massive pumpkin. You're somewhat worthy of my collection. He's gonna turn me into a pumpkin? The fire within the pumpkin shell seemed to rage with a renewed intensity. You sense an attack is imminent. Alright, we attacking? Attack! The instant you move to attack, the massive pumpkin stretches wide its carved mouth and a wave of flames hurtles out of its gaping maw. You have scant seconds to avoid the deadly breath of fire. Elementalism! A powerful air elemental sweeps into view in answer to your summons and redirects. Oh my gosh, I don't have my watch on. The wave of flame, sending it arcing harmlessly into the sky. So we meet again, human. The massive pumpkin. It sends the grin curling up the ends of its thunderous voice rattles at your bones. So you don't recall a last meeting? A pity. Had any semblance of the name, it might prove to an easier exercise. You are worthy, and now you shall be harvested and collected. Yeah, now I don't remember you. Can't say that I do. The massive pumpkin's mouth scratches open in the midst of final, though less voluminous roar before the strange beast explodes, showering you with the pungent, singeing shards of its orange shell and a torrent of sticky, smouldering seeds. Cover your head to avoid being struck by hot debris and manage to survive your enemy's violent demise unscathed. We shall meet again until the whispering voice that fleeting moment fills your head and is then suddenly gone. What? I've never met a pumpkin person. You make quick search of the area and surprise discover an object lying in the midst of a smouldering pile of the giant pumpkin's remains. You reach down and take hold of the object and lift it out of the heap of singed pumpkin flesh. Which item it is you just discovered is entirely up to you. I mean, do I want any of this? Not really. Thunder mace, that sounds awesome. Plate boots. It gives me 9 stamina and agility. What do I have on right now? Boots, feet. Yeah, no. Another boots. What's this? This wicked black steel weapon once shot at the hip of it. Oh, it's a weapon. No, thank you. It's a ring. Gives me body and might. I don't want any of this stuff. Wow, this is nice. What am I wearing on my chest right now? Chest. Torso. I mean, that's pretty good. Okay, I'll take this one. So the item carefully amongst your belongings and prepare for a long time to make your way out of the pumpkin patch. Picking out the pumpkin patch proved to be no easy task. The path you followed as you wound your way into the tangled labyrinth seems to have mysteriously shifted, causing you no end of confusion as you attempt to leave its sinister confines. At long last, nearly an hour after you started the trek out of the patch, a welcome breach in the dense foliage looms into view ahead. You recognize the entrance to the patch at once and immediately jogs towards you. Having prepared yourself for what is likely a wrongful reception of the gathering of town folks, you plunge out of the overgrown pumpkin patch and immediately dip into a triumphant sweeping bow. When your calculated gestures met with a shocked silence, you look up in much surprise to discover that you are not alone. You are alone. There's no longer any sign of the crowd of onlookers. Somewhat dejected, oddly enough, you make your way back to the center village and shrine into the singing fool to announce the success of your mission to Mayor Rottol. The mayor leaps up from the table, set against the far wall of the tavern, rushes forward, seemingly surprised to see you. I'm afraid we'd given you up for dead, he said sheepishly as he grasped your hand. The folks who came back from their vigil at the patch said you'd been eaten alive in there, or so it sounded as it now seems. How could we attack the great rock Makara? You bring news of the resounding success, I imagine? Mayor Rotwell listens attentively as you give a full account of your expedition into the pumpkin patch. You purposely exaggerate several points, including your final encounter with the giant punk, just to provoke an animated and somewhat comical reaction of your enraptured subject. When your account is complete, the mayor offers you profound thanks on behalf of all Durnsig. I'm afraid we have nothing much worthwhile to offer someone like you, Rock Makara. I hope that our eternal gratitude is enough for all you've done for us. How about a meal in the mail before you depart? You politely decline the invitation and tell the mayor of Durnsing's gratitude is reward enough for your rendered service. You again tempted to set the record straight regarding the whole Rock Makara business, but with little desire to engage in a long-winded explanation that will not likely be understood or appreciated, you decide against it. Instead, you bid farewell to Mayor Rothwell and depart from Durnsig. Like, I live here. I have a dwelling here. You don't know who I am? A few miles north of Durnsig, on the winding wooden road that runs through several of the small villages in the area, you meet a man on horseback headed south. Lone Rider is outfitted in a fine suit of leather armor, each piece of it emblazoned with a large, fanciful scripted R. The rider slows down as he approaches and greets you in a curt nod. See, it's a guy, too. Like, why would my name be Rock Makara? Allison, is it? Oh, I'm gravely mistaken, he said in obvious air of contempt. I heard of you, though. I can plainly see for myself that tells you your heroics must be greatly embellished. Yes, greatly. You're taken aback by the man's rude and confrontational demeanor, and before you can respond, he again speaks. No doubt my illustrious name is known to you. Not really. He continues, Rock Makara is what I go by in these parts, and if you haven't heard of it before, which is doubtful, you'll be well to remember it now. If you excuse me, I have an important, undoubtedly dangerous matter to attend to in Durnsig. Rock Makara continues past, but turns in the saddle to volley a final parting remark. Predictable, though, isn't it? That while I ride into danger, the likes of you scurries from it. He quips, Well, it will be, however, it must be. Fare thee well, Allison. I mean, at least you know who I am. They didn't even know. With that, Rock Makara spurs his horse into gallop and soon is lost from sight. You suddenly regret having slain the giant pumpkin. A haunting in Durnsig. The pumpkin says I met him before. I ain't met no giant pumpkin. See how I have a house here? Let's see if this item's better for me. Obviously I'm all 20s and I have 348 and 374. So let's put this on. 348, 374. Better special. And what about my stats? That's still all at 20. So the other one gives me a little more, but this gives me more health. So it was a good choice. They're very close. But I think I'd rather have more melee than I'd rather have the 4 or 5 melee instead of the 6 SP. This is my dwelling. I'll get healed. I'm gonna save. Alright, so hey, that's it, you guys. Next time we're gonna do some more adventures in Durnsig. Until then, you know what I'm gonna say. Peace.